Hello, everyone. I also am crossing my fingers, Craig, that so far so good. I'm just trying to get this camera in the right spot so you don't get my backlight in your eyes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Drinks with Kate at my house. Hi, Jeff. Hello, Emily. I hope you're feeling better as well. And Greg and Hayley, Paul and Roz, hi. Craig, not talking to you. Smiley pants. Hello, Sharpie and Rod. Lovely night to be indoors with a bottle of red. Who else is there? Hello, Kay. Welcome back to you. Hello, Sid. Thank you. Well, we haven't done anything yet. So, hi, James. I'm fine. It's my punishment for coming to Queensland and not doing a Drinks with Kate event up there, but just doing 24 hours at the Tattersalls Club. Grr, grumble, grumble. Hello, Polly. Yeah, you go lie down. There you go. She's in yoga position now. That's where she goes to do yoga every Saturday morning. So hopefully she'll be good. Hello, Shell. Thank you. Makeup can work wonders. I'll try not to snuffle at you too much, but I can't promise anything. Who else? Who haven't I said hello to? I'm just scrolling back because I can. I'm totally in control of this. Hello, Cotty and John, Peter and Karen. I said hello to Paul and Roz. Kevin, are you back? Emily, I hope you're feeling better. I think I've already said that. I'll stop talking in a minute and we'll just talk about the wine, hey? Hello, Anne-Marie and Scott. Lovely to see you. I'm pretty sure that I didn't have this on Sunday, but I really hope that I didn't give it to anyone. So fingers crossed for that. All right. Yeah, I have my hanky just in case. Let us taste this wine. So also, I have to also say, I'm very sorry for Sue. Hello, Sue. Are you texting me? Hi, Sue. I think you should be on Drinks with Kate. Hello, Keely. I was at Wet in Cairns. What a bummer. I'm sure it'll clear up soon. Hello, Sarah and all the tricks. Lovely to see you. Rob and Deb. Hello. Hello, Warrnambool. Yeah, I'm sure you are trying not to get COVID from Emily, but I hope you're looking after all your poor sick family after you've been off gallivanting and they've all been unwell. James, that's no good. We'll have to get a box up to you if you want one. But Willow Creek's pretty good too. Willow Creek Shardy, nice. Wrong variety, wrong producer, but that's okay. We're very inclusive here, as you know, with Drinks with Kate, so it's all okay. Yes, I have to apologise as well that I got my wines mixed up on Tuesday when I emailed out to you. I was in the worst of my brain fog, I think, that day. Just sort of coming into it, testing positive, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I hope everyone has the right wine. You got my email yesterday. Today, I thought we would taste the Garden Vineyard 2020. Hurrah. And the reason for that is we're kind of going the other way around compared to what we normally do at the cellar door. Normally we would do Robinson first and then the McIntyre and do the Garden last when we're tasting them next to each other. But we're not doing that with Drinks with Kate. We taste a wine every week. Hello, Sue and Daryl. Lovely to see you too. Yeah, we do a wine every week, so we have time to contemplate the wine and have a rest in between wines. And so it's not a compare and contrast so much as a just spotlight on one wine. That said, I thought that it would be more interesting for us to finish the triumvirate of vintages of Garden Vineyard Pinot before we moved on to the other single vineyards with the 2020s, because 2 weeks ago we did the 2019, I believe, and a little bit before that we did the 2015. Polly, shush, go back to bed. I don't think that's going to work. There's somebody reversing a truck outside and Polly wants to go and see who it is. So excuse me for a moment. Oh, God, I'm just going to let Polly out. Polly, come on. Open your bottle of wine, everybody. And Sue and Jeff, if that's your truck next door, can you please stop reversing? You're upsetting my dog. Garden Vineyard Pinot. Let's get this open in the glass. This will be the first wine that I've tasted for a number of days, so it'll be very interesting to see how the old sense of smell and taste goes. I have my Pinot Noir glass and I have my wine. I'll put those together and make some magic. Yeah, I reckon that's the next door neighbour, Jeff, backing his truck down the driveway. Thank you, Jeff. Very bright colour. It's actually wearing a black jumper, wasn't it? I just put my house behind the wine instead of me, and that'll work. It's a beautiful cherry red colour. Here's the moment of truth. Let's see if the nose works at all. It works, hurrah! The nose is incredible, isn't it? And sorry, my sniffing is a bit noisier than normal at the moment. But anyone who was at the lunch on Sunday or the dinner a month ago has already tasted this wine, but I think you'll already find that it's different at drinking it at home, having it in your space, in your glasses, with your food. So I think it's a really nice opportunity for those of you who've tasted this wine recently at Moorooduc to see how it looks at home. And for those of you who haven't tasted it at all, it's a nice introduction to it. Excuse me. So Garden Vineyard Pinot Noir. Oh, God, yes. Yay, I can still smell. It's a little diminished, but it's pretty good. So I'm getting... yeah, I think you're right, Craig. It's getting through anyway to my brain. Did you get them, Paul? Oh, no, she's got a toy now. She wants to go and say hello to the next door neighbours. Just go and sit down. It's okay. We're doing a wine tasting. Rob and Deb. Yeah, it has settled down a little bit. Excuse me. Good girl, Paul. I know. You can come up here and say hello if you want. Come here. Come on, up you come. Up. Good girl. There we go. Oh, yes. She's been looking after me very well. She won't leave my side, except for a few hours to go to Moorooduc with Jill. All right, back to the wine. I haven't put it in my mouth yet, Rob and Deb, but the tannins do soften out quite quickly with this wine. It's really quite amazing. But it's also possibly the day, what you're eating with it, all that kind of thing. So we served this wine with manchego on Sunday and at the previous dinner as well. So if you've got manchego in front of you, then this will be a perfect comparison to what we did at Moorooduc. Okay, had to take a sip before I started talking about what I smell, gathering my thoughts, which are still a little scattered. So I'm getting still that lovely core of cherry fruits coming through really nicely. I think, Craig, it's definitely more structured than the 2019. 2019 was that year that sort of had some hot spells and some cool spells, and then the hot weather just right at the end of the ripening period, just at vintage time. And so that wine was picked perhaps a tiny bit earlier than we would ideally have if we weren't getting that hot spell. This wine, on the other hand, 2020 was quite a cool year, and I think a lot of people are surprised to hear that, because if we can remember the summer of 2019, 2020, so that December, January, the things that we remember were that it was hot because we had bushfires, right? And that was all very scary around Christmas. In November, there were bushfires up in New South Wales, and then there were bushfires at Malakuta over New Year's Eve, and in northern Victoria as well, and even up in there were bushfires up in the in Queensland in some rainforests that shouldn't have had bushfires at all. So it was really quite scary weather around Australia, and we associate bushfires with really hot weather. But in fact, on the Mornington Peninsula, we didn't get very much at all of that very hot weather that a lot of the rest of Australia got. It just kind of went over the top of us. So we had quite a long, cool ripening period. And in fact, I am getting slowly around to answering your question that you've just posed, Rob and Deb. So bear with me. Because of that cool ripening period, we picked relatively late in 2020, and the wines ripened more slowly and developed more complex flavors, but also the tannins in the wine, in the grapes, ripened more slowly, and tannins in the stalks ripened more slowly and probably more completely as a result than they do in some years for the Garden Vineyard Pinot. Remembering that the Garden Vineyard Pinot is 100% whole bunch fermented. And when we talk about structure in wine, we're really talking about, for red wine, we're talking about the tannin and the acid and how that frames the fruit. So it's also about the intensity of fruit. If a wine has a lot of tannin and acid but not a lot of fruit, then it could be overstructured, or it could just be described as tough. But if it's got lots of fruit, a lot of fruit intensity, and it doesn't have to be sweet fruit, and I don't think that this wine's got some sweet fruit, but it's got some really savory flavors as well from the fruit. But the structure is the framework around that fruit, which is the acid and the tannin, basically, and the alcohol as well. But most of the time, when we talk about structure, we're talking about tannin, really, because tannin's the thing that we see as the most structural thing in the wine. The acid helps to carry the fruit along. But the tannin actually makes the frame of the wine, if that makes sense. And this wine has certainly got a lot of tannin. It's got really intense fruit flavor as well. So it handles that level of structure because it's got a lot of generosity of fruit. So yes, tart cherries, Craig, sort of red cherries and black cherries, but there's a kind of sour tart cherry kind of character to it. There's a little bit of pomegranate there. There is a slight rhubarb character, but then it goes very quickly into a sort of a Campari Amaro kind of aromatic profile, which is all about sort of bittersweet characters, a little bit of sort of bittersweet herbal notes, all those kind of things. Anne Marie's seeing some pea tendrils and some vegetable goodies. It's like hard Ribena. I think that's a really good descriptor of this wine, Shell. And I've got to say, I've been drinking quite a bit of warm Ribena with a slice of lemon in it, no gin, for the last couple of days, and it's actually pretty good coming onto it. James, I'll answer that question in a moment. Sorry, guys, this is awful. So annoying. I thought I'd be able to avoid blowing my nose. But there we go. I think we're probably okay now. So yeah, it's got those lovely kind of berry fruit characters. It's got a little woodsy kind of a note to it. And then on the palate, I don't know whether it's my palate at the moment, but I get more of that. I get more of that bright fruit. There is that Campari note to it. It does remind me a little bit of a Negroni, with the Campari and the vermouth kind of notes, but it's got this lovely core of tart red cherry in there, and it's just really and the flavour goes on and on. There's a little bit of bitterness from the tannins, really delicious. Oh, Spanakopita, Jeff, that sounds pretty good. And it's going well with what did you say, Shell? Mushroom risotto, perfect. and Cotty and John are having pasta with mushrooms, chestnuts, and Tasmanian truffle. Ooh, that'll be delightful with that wine. Excellent with lamb, absolutely. So, James, your tricky question about the vintage variation between the single vineyard wines and the estate wine. Very, very simple answer to that question, James. COVID. And to expand on that answer, I'm not going mad. Mushroom pastry, yum, Craig. That sounds delicious. We make tiny quantities of the single vineyard wine, so somewhere between 150 and 250 dozen of each of the single vineyard wines every year. We sell most of our single vineyard wines direct to people like you guys, Wine Club, Drinks with Kate, people on the mailing list, people who come in to Cellar Door. We've worked really hard to make that the case, because about 5 years ago, we had an issue that we were selling a bit to our distributors in Melbourne and our distributors in Sydney and our distributors in Brisbane, and they still get an allocation, so don't worry, they still get some. So, because it's important for it to get onto wine lists and in restaurants, and it's nice for our loyal independent retailers to have a crack at selling some as well. But we don't make enough of it for it to be sitting around on wine shelves in wine shops all year round. And we also, we get really upset when we sell it on to our wholesalers and then they sell it on to someone and then they can't sell it, and then 6 months later they discount it, which is ridiculous, because by then we've sold out of it at Cellar Door. And we have people who have been on our mailing list for the last 20 or 30 years who rock up at Cellar Door and go, oh, I'm here to buy my McIntyre Pinot or my Garden Vineyard Pinot. And we have to say, I'm terribly sorry, madam, sir, but the wine is sold out. And then we find out that it's on sale at the Wine Emporium because they bought some 6 months ago and haven't been able to sell it, and so they're discounting it. So anyway, if you ever see these wines in retail and you see them cheaper than you can buy them at Cellar Door, my suggestion is that you buy them straight away, because we won't be able to price match, and that retailer probably won't ever buy the wine again because they obviously were having trouble selling it. So that's a little heads up for that. So single vineyard Pinots we release every June, and we release the 2020s this June. Ideally, we would be selling the 2020 or the 2021 estate Pinot Noir now. But in 2018, we took on a new vineyard, Duns Creek, which increased our Pinot Noir production abilities. And so we made more estate Pinot Noir with that extra fruit. And we're delighted with the wine. We think it's fantastic. But we released that wine at the beginning of 2020, fully expecting it to be a normal year and that we would deplete that stock in a 12-month period, because that was the pattern that we were in. That was the forecasting that we'd done with what we'd made before and what we'd sold before, and growing our distribution, selling more in the UK. We sold a little bit in China, which kind of happened once and never again, which that's fine. So just expanding our reach a little bit, we needed more Pinot Noir. And then in 2020, as you all recall, this thing called COVID came along. It shut Melbourne down. Melbourne restaurants were closed for a very long time, both in 2020 and 2021. A lot of restaurants have really struggled to come back. To add difficulty to the situation, when we came out of lockdown in 2020, there were some really big wine companies that were offering outrageous deals to restaurants and wine shops, basically restaurants mainly, but they were saying basically your first order's free and then the second order you get 6 months credit on, or whatever. Those sort of wine companies don't sell Moorooduc Estate wine, and our wine distributors and we decided that it was more important that the wine kept its reputation, and so we didn't fire sale the wine, and we didn't fire sale the wine either because it's so delicious. I'm really happy to be selling the 2018 Estate Pinot Noir. In fact, I'd prefer to be selling Polly, come on, shush. I'd prefer to be selling the 2018 single vineyard Pinots now because then they'd be more ready to drink. That said, the 2020s I think are very forward wines as young wines, and I think they're delicious. But yeah, that's why we're selling the 2020 Pinots now, James, and the Estate Pinot Noir is still 2018. We're still selling through stock that should have been sold in 2020. That said, I'll also add to that, I also love the 2018 Estate, Craig. I would say if you like it, stock up on it. It's what a lot of restaurants in Melbourne are doing because it's one of the only 2018 wines still on the market. Most people are selling 19s, 20s, even 21s because a lot of people did dump wine. They dumped it through Grays Online or through Vino Mofo or through Langton's, who do sort of, here's a special deal. We won't tell you what the wine is until you buy it. And then when it gets to you, you'll know what you bought. We didn't want to do that because we felt that it would depreciate the value of the wine. And we are selling so much 2018 Pinot to restaurants at the moment, particularly through our Melbourne distributors, because it's drinking so beautifully. It was a fabulous vintage, and it's so much more ready to drink than a 2021 Pinot Noir from anywhere in Victoria. So it's nothing against people's 2021s. 2021 was a beautiful vintage, and I'll really look forward to selling our Pinot from 2021 when we're ready to sell it. But I'm really happy that we've got a little bit of extra bottle age on the Estate Pinots, and it means that going forward, as things get back to normal, we've got a little bit of wiggle room if we start selling more. But even if we don't, I think we're in a really good pattern with the Estate Pinot Noir as far as releasing it being ready to drink straight away. That said, it will also age. I'm saying lots of that saids. I think that my brain is stuck on that said. So I hope that all made sense, James. Shell, 2 different flavour profiles tonight. The mushroom risotto brings out earthiness and the roast veggies bring out the sweetness. It's really interesting, isn't it? It's and as it opens up in the glass, there's a bit more licorice that comes through and a little bit of that kind of carbonic lolly shop raspberry lolly, little bit of strawberry fruit even coming through, but and then the savouriness comes back again, which is pretty awesome. The 18 Moorooduc Estate should be on rotation at everyone's house. High rotation. It's a wine that is drinking really, really well. The 17 is beautiful as well, James, and I was a little bit sad when we sold out of the 17, but the difference between the 17 and the 18 is really interesting. The 17 was really dark and structured and savoury, and the 18 is much brighter and more forward and a bit more lifted. So 2 very different personalities. I've got a case of 17 Estate Pinot Noir. I know that Jeff really liked the 17 as well. So that's one of the beautiful things about vintage variation, is that you always get a little slightly different expression of the wine. I think that that also segues really nicely into the fact that despite the fact that we have vintage variation every year, at Moorooduc, we're really interested in exploring those vintage variations, but we're also not interested in really offering you something that's subpar ever. So while we have years that are different, I think they're all interesting and delicious in their own right. And there'll be vintages that some people prefer and some people don't. Had a really interesting conversation last week with some. I did a dinner at the Lyceum Club last Wednesday, and one of the women was saying, "Oh yes, I believe that all even vintages are good and all odd vintages are bad." And I said, "Well, that's a myth because there's no science in that. But it is weird that often the wines that really stand out as being exceptional often come from even vintages. If anyone can explain the magic of that to me with any sort of logic, that would be awesome. But yes, it's an interesting concept. But I think 17 was certainly an exception to that rule. I really like the wines from 2013 as well. 2015 was good, so I don't think it quite works for me. But anyway, Craig, when we're getting wine ready for bottling, we work. I think we're usually pretty. We're pretty aware if a vintage is not quite looking like it's going to be great, or that there might be some problems with a vintage. We're pretty aware of that pretty early on in the growing cycle, let alone the harvesting and the making of the wine. So we're already alert to the possibility that in a difficult year we might not make all the top wines. The last time that we didn't make the McIntyre Pinot or the Garden Pinot was in 2011. So it doesn't happen very often, but some years we make a lot less of a single vineyard wine than we normally would, just because we're interested in what it might do in an unusual year, or there might not be as much fruit that we think is good enough. Sid, I couldn't possibly do that off the top of my head. I'm so sorry, not today, not with COVID. I'll have to take that as homework and get back to you. Unless Jeremy's is watching along and wants to chime in. I know Richard and Jill are watching along, but I don't think they know how to chat. But my brain's not up to that today. I'm sorry, Sid. Normally I might be able to have a stab at that, but I'm having trouble remembering my name at the moment. So I think you'll just have to bear with me on what we're doing at the moment. Now you've thrown me. But yes, Craig, often fruit gets declassified if it's not good enough. So fruit that would normally go into a single vineyard, if it's not good enough, will get declassified to estate if it's good enough for estate. If it's not good enough for estate, it gets declassified to Devil Ben Creek. And if it's not good enough for Devil Ben Creek, because we make larger quantities of Devil Ben Creek and the estate, so you can lose little bits and pieces of things that maybe would stand out in a single vineyard wine, but might just kind of disappear into a Devil Ben Creek blend. But if the wine's just not good enough for any of those labels, then we're certainly quite prepared to throw it down the drain. So yeah, that's I might be getting some help via the text message. No, okay, Jeremy. Sid wants to know. Jeremy's on the text. Sid wants to know the Garden Vineyard, the vintages 15 and 19 versus 20, a wrap on that. So 20 I've already talked about as being sort of a cool even vintage for us without any of the problems that most of the rest of Victoria and New South Wales and even Queensland had. 15 and 19, I can't even think. Sorry about that. 19, I can do 19. Hang on. 19, we talked about 19 a couple of weeks ago. Thanks, Alison. Thanks, Craig. Hello, Alison. Cheers. So 19 was the year where we had some cool weather, we had some hot weather, then we had some cool, and then we had hot weather at the end. So it was kind of a shortened ripening period, Sid. And the 19s are very paler in colour. This has got much deeper, redder colour to it. This has got much more fruit density and richness because of that longer, cooler ripening period. And it had longer on the vine. We picked later, so we were able to allow those flavours to develop more than with the 19. So the 19's a little snappier. It's a little more red fruited. It's Yeah, it's quite different. And I think that the 19 probably, um, well, we liked it a few weeks ago when we tasted it together. It's quite different from this. This is sort of darker and rounder and richer. Jeff reckons, thank you, Jeff. Jeff's helping. Jeff reckons that the 16 comes close to this one, and made him very happy. Um, and I agree, the 16 Garden Vineyard, because Garden Vineyard's a bit different from the other two single vineyard wines that we do. Um, and the just remembering that the Garden Vineyard is 100% whole bunch fermented, and so a having a year where the ripening is long and slow is actually really advantageous to a whole bunch wine, but also having enough warmth in the year so that it ripens fully, and so that you can have that long, slow, fully ripened fruit and stalk in the mix, so that you're not getting too much green character, you're not getting too much astringency, but you're getting those lovely dark fruit characters. I really like our Garden Vineyard Pinots when they've got that Amaro note to them, as well as the Campari note, which is, we're going to have to do Amaro one of these days, aren't we? Because I keep talking about Amaro, and I know that not everybody out there drinks Amaro. But Amaro is basically an Italian aperitivo, or digestivo more often, to help you to digest your dinner. It's usually grappa based, but it's sweetened, and it's infused with herbs, and they're usually herbs from wherever the Amaro is made. And you can get Amaros that have got, now I'm thinking in Italian. It's just so annoying my brain at the moment. You can get Amaros that just have herbs through them, mountain herbs. Some of them will have things like artichokes. I was thinking carcoffy. What's carcoffy in English? All sorts of crazy things. So we'll do it. We'll do an Amaro night one night when I'm back on form. Jeremy sent me a nice little text message, so I'm just going to read it out for you, because I've got help. 15 had a correlation with 20, as we did see cool, slow, mild progression to ripeness. 19 was the outlier. The thing about 15 and 20 was the slower progression of phenolic ripeness, giving you less intense contributions from the stalks and lovely bright fruit. It's basically what I already said. Thank you very much, Jeremy. I thought that 15 was similar to 20, but I just couldn't remember. Thank you so much. Sina, absolutely, Peter and Karen. Okay, Craig and Jeff are having a little private conversation about the UK and Brunello and Barolo. Excellent. James, can you tell us about the new vineyard you got the estate Pinot from? Okay, so it's not all from that vineyard. Duns Creek is the name of the vineyard. It's a little bit further south than our other vineyards. They used to make wine under their own brand, and they didn't want to do that anymore. So as of 2019, I think, we started taking fruit from them. Pinot Noir, some went into Devil Ben Creek, some went into Estate Pinot Noir, and Pinot Gris, and that's where most of the fruit for the Pinot Gris on skins comes from these days, because it's really beautiful Pinot Gris. So Duns Creek is a nice little vineyard. The previous owners, they sold last year, asked me the other day when we were going to be making a single vineyard wine from Duns Creek. Not sure if we've got any plans in place at the moment, but it's a very nice. It's very nice. Craig, you're hilarious. And you make me lose my train of thought again. Crazy kids. Yeah, so Duns Creek's a really important element as part of our estate and our Devil Ben Creek program. Maybe one day we'll make a single vineyard Duns Creek wine. Who knows? The new owners seem very nice, and we're just making sure that we're still able to keep getting fruit from them in the future and down the track. So it's part of the fun of leasing vineyards, particularly from friends. And when friends sell vineyards, then you have to learn to make friends with the new owners, which is always fun. Okay, guys, do you know what? I am so impressed with myself. We've been going for nearly 35 minutes and I haven't fallen off my chair yet. Craig and Jeff and Rob and Deb are planning my birthday treats at the moment, so that's lovely. Thanks, guys. I look forward to it. And I reckon, I know I haven't really done this wine justice. I'm so sorry for being COVID ridden this week. That's a great idea, Coddy. I have to get Jeff to hand out everyone's contact details so that you can plan a really good surprise party for me. Polly thinks it's a great idea too. Polly's over there with the gin and tonic lemon and lime cushions that you can see in the background. Anyway, I'm gonna crash now. I'm gonna love you and leave you. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been awesome. Next week, I will be back to my normal self again. I hope, fingers crossed, touching wood, all of the things. This wine is getting through my hazy brain, and it was a perfect wine for us to do today. I think it's got enough complexity and depth and intensity and beautiful fruit to keep me going. So first glass of wine this week. Cheers to me. Cheers to you guys. Robinson Pinot Noir next week, 2020. Be here or at Moorooduc, hopefully by then. I'll see you all soon. Love you all. Take care and stay healthy. Cheers.